Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 512. I'm Brian Cohen from Best Page Forward, joined by Jeffrey Mason from HearYourStorybooks.com. You
Hello,
came
everyone.
back. I'm so happy you could fit it in.
Yeah, the 2-show contract. Here I am.
You imagine that I live in a world where I'm put together enough to make contracts. That's amazing. I
Yeah, you're
appreciate that
welcome.
about you. Um, so something we didn't really get to talk about too much last week.
Yeah.
So one of the things that separates you from some of our previous guest co-hosts is you write low to medium content books. A lot of them for moms, dads, kids, grandparents, etc. How did you kind of come upon this idea of creating these?
Um, it it all started. I was never intentionally going to make books. I've always been a creative person, but I'm of that generation where my parents said, "No, no, you got to get a real job." The old
Mm-hmm.
starving
Mm-hmm.
artist thing. So I had a bunch of real jobs throughout my life, and they were good jobs, and I enjoyed them. And then in 2018, 2019. I had an in between time when my last position ended, and I had enough set aside to kind of play with life. And I did things like I did commercials and I did some extra work and did some road trips. And then at Valentine's Day that year, I purchased for the amazing Paula this book off Amazon. It was called The Couple's Bucket List. I said, this is cute. It'll be part of the gift basket. And I got it. And it was just a cool cover with just lines inside of it.
Ah,
And I said, because I'm a bit of an egoist, I can do this better. And
mm,
I'd heard about, self-publishing. I'd read about this still back in, the Create Space days, 2018 early. So I just kind of sat down went on with Word and um, found a book on how to make a cover and got in Canva and just made this book and made $54 that year. I think half of it was
mm.
me making sure you could actually buy a book off Amazon that you made. And then the next year, 2019, my dad was in the middle of a real bad bout with Alzheimer's.
Mm.
And my dad was that guy, that generation that he showed his love by how he provided, how he led the family, how he disciplined. He just didn't share a lot of his life except in moments of discipline where he's like, don't you know how hard it was for me? And here's what happened to me in high school. Here's how I would have
Mm-hmm.
been punished. But otherwise, I didn't know much about his experience as a person outside of being my dad. And I just, one night I was up, kind of sad, kind of regretting some stuff. And I just wrote down all these questions I wished I knew about the amazing man. And people other people saw the list and they said, wow, these are things I wish about my dad as well. So I said, I'm going to throw it out in the world. So I put it out there on Amazon and people found it. People bought it. Do you have a book for mom? Do you have a book for grandparents? So I started making, and little by little, people found them. They kept growing. I kept improving them because I was doing the editing, which isn't always best. I was making the covers, which isn't always the best. But little by little, they got more and more professional. And we've grown that into a brand where um, the idea of Hear Your Story is to provide ways for anyone to reminisce on, write about, share, and preserve their life memories. Because I feverishly believe, I don't care who you are, how much you make, where you live, you have an incredible, one of a kind life story that needs to be shared and needs to be honored. And that's what we try to do. So that's the entire focus of Hear Your Story. So, and it
I
just all
love that.
started, just my amazing dad and just flipping wanted to know more about him. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
Anyway,
think
so
that's so great. And think about this, like a lot of folks who are maybe low content authors,
yeah,
they don't have that story. They have that, hey, I saw some YouTube video that if you produce 20 journals a day, you'll make an income, passive income. I think authors who come into something with a heart, like you did, good things are going to happen because you came into it for the right reasons, and you have done better than 99.9% of low content authors, in part because you had a really soulful reason for doing
Yeah. Well, we as humans love to tell stories and love to tell tales, be it about ourselves or be it a campfire story or a horror story or a bedtime story. And I mean, you've heard me many times say, what fiction authors do is like magic to me. It's just
them.
magic that you can sit down and create characters and storylines that keep me up at till 4 o'clock in the morning. It's just, I'm wowed by it. I am so wowed by
Yeah.
it. So, I don't like that so much of what everyone does is so cool and so interesting and so magical. And I love that we don't have the gatekeepers anymore to, keep us from doing these things we love. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
anyway, I could go on and on.
I know it's a good go on, but awesome. Well, thanks for
Yeah.
sharing your story. You can find out more at hearyourstory.com. I've got one for my mom. I need to go message her and say, "Have you finished it yet?" Because it was a while ago. But our question of the week a couple weeks ago was, what is one thing you could stop doing in 2024, and what is one thing you could hand off to someone else? And M.A. Nichols said, honestly, nothing. I've been doing this since 2016, transitioned to full-time in 2022, and simplified my task list. There are so many things we're told we need to do, but the reality is the best marketing you can do is write the next book. So that is what I focus on.
Nice.
Miranda McGuire said, if I had the money editing, I would do editing. I would hand off editing. I hear that, Miranda. And Shelly Dawn agreed with you. And then Bethany said, I started this in 2023, but 2024 is already so different because of it. I consciously drew back and ended relationships that didn't afford me the time and spoons to write and didn't respect my time. It was scary, but so worth it once I entangled myself.
Yes.
I love that, Bethany.
Yes.
I think I noticed when I first started to kind of get into like thinking more positively and self-help and whatnot. I worked at Starbucks at the time, and there were people I worked with and customers who I like shared my journey with, and they started to like pull away from me big time. And I was like, what is happening? And I realized some people just don't want you to be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's sad, but it's true. Yeah. It's true. But Jeffrey, what's one thing you think you might give up, stop doing in 2024?
So I shared with you a couple of questions that on the long drive from Sacramento to Dallas that Paul and I took for the last trade show.
Yes.
I had these series of questions that kind of for us to go over a year. And the two questions we really focused on, what are things that add energy to our life and what are things that took away energy from our life? And I have kind of the psychological term is called a hero complex, where I think I can help everyone and I should help everyone. And gosh, yes, I will continue to try to do that. But, I need to make sure that I'm not constantly, looking for people who aren't actually drowning to save drowning. So, yeah.
Been there, done that, sir.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. That's a
not
good
really
one
an
to
author
think about.
answer, but it does apply to business as well. So,
I think for any nonfiction-y kind of authors, it absolutely applies. Yeah. Love that. Well, you can answer the question of the week over at sellmorebookshow.com or in the After Party Facebook group. Let's have at the top story of the week. Hard but valuable lessons of 2023. Thanks. Just because you've become a successful indie author doesn't mean it's always smooth sailing, reports romantic comedy author Kirsten Oliphant. Quote, you might assume, as I often do, that income should just go up as you grow, says the author. My email list almost doubled last year. I've got a bigger backlist. I have more followers. Doesn't that mean I should make more money? Not necessarily, end quote. In fact, Oliphant published more books in 2023, yet saw a 20% revenue decrease over 2022. Two big reasons: Amazon's category changes and the lower Kindle Unlimited payouts both hit her hard. Quote, in this business, there are simply things you can't control. Whether it's Amazon or any other big company, when they make changes, it can impact you and you have no control. End quote. While those reasons were out of her control, some things were due to her desire to be all over the place. Jeffrey, we will be able to talk about this in a second, as she said in her Create If Writing Facebook group. Quote, I veered off course writing my main money-making series, end quote. Oliphant took a detour, writing in a different series instead. That pushed back the books that her most passionate fans were waiting for, causing a drop in interest in her series. Quote, y'all, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of sticking with momentum. Depending on your goals, if something is working, do more of that. Don't move into a new genre or series or start a new thing or chase a shiny object. Jeffrey, why did I mention you when it came to quoting being all over the place? Why did I mention you there?
As we have talked in prior conversations, I have had historically, currently, my brain just jumps all over the place, and I see things and I go, heck, that sounds so cool. I'm going to do that too. And we do it. And I've been fortunate now for over a year to work with someone who just started out as an interior designer of my books. But she has become just an integral part of everything we do. And she sat me down one day and just kind of said, you're making me crazy, number one. And number two, I'm really worried that you're going to ruin this thing that you're really good at by not focusing on it and being everywhere. And so, you got to get back to, how much can you produce? And it's the old conversation. If you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something. And so we're trying to be more strategic and calculated and organized. And we're only going to make this many books this year. And if Jeff says, woo, let's make this book. Okay, what book comes off the list? So, and you don't make a book unless you know who you're making it for, why they would ever buy it, how you're going to market it. And in my case, I'm not going to make any books that I'm not willing to go do at least a 500 print run on through a printer, and then have 500 books in my storage shed, my climate controlled storage shed. So that's kind of the rules now, just to, limits are the foundation of creativity. When you have all this room in the world and all these resources, there's no creativity. But when you limit yourself, that's when the cool stuff happens. So
I love that. That's the thing that I think so many authors don't get about writing to market, is that limits, as you said, limits are the foundation of creativity. You have certain restrictions. You have a certain template you kind of need to follow in order to sell more books. It doesn't mean you can't be creative.
Yeah.
Absolutely doesn't.
Coca-Cola started selling pizza tomorrow. We kind of go, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Exactly.
I don't want Coca-Cola pizza. So,
no thanks. No thanks.
Yeah.
I will point out, in the spending 3 wonderful years with Claire Taylor as my co-host makes me want to point out. Yes. So Kirsten diverged from her most popular series, which caused her to drop 20% in royalties. But Claire would say that's okay if the royalties weren't the number one focus. It is okay to not do your most profitable thing if something that is less profitable would make you happier. Jeffrey, you are going to be joining me in North Carolina for Self-Publishing Live, which I'm so excited about, you and several other people who are in the Pathfinders group. Self-Publishing Live is not the most profitable thing I can do with my time. There's only a certain amount of seats for the in-person event. When you add in all the costs, like the videographer and all that stuff, we won't turn a huge profit on it. But it's very important to me, and I'm excited that it's the anti-tactics conference, that it is the opposite of some conferences that are learn every single possible thing you can learn. And
Yeah.
I'm super excited about that, selfpublishinglive.com. But it's going to take some of my time away. It might decrease my overall business profitability. And I'm okay with that because I'm doing things in the order that I really do want to do.
And that's the important thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hot potato a wisdom question for you, sir. So, what was a change, like Kirsten's situation with the Amazon categories and whatnot? What was a change that was out of your control that affected you in 2023?
I have an opposite answer here.
Ooh, I love
So
this.
December of 2022 was my bingo bango best month ever. Like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
And then last year was still wonderful, but less.
Yeah.
2022, while it was, royalty wise was yay, I don't know how it happened except I spent money on Amazon ads and then people bought my book. Whereas in 2023, there were all these little things that I was doing differently that I can build on. I was on Etsy. Etsy was awesome because I knew who was buying my book. I know where they live. I know the kind of person they are. It was awesome. And I got to actually, send things to people versus the Amazon magic happened of books being printed and shipped out. So it's odd that my best month ever, there wasn't anything that I actually controlled except spending more dollars on ads. And I don't even know if that's the reason. Whereas all these things that happened in 2022 between going wholesale, Etsy, other places, printing my own books, they're things that I feel like I have more control over. Kind of like with your conference, it's something you can build on.
Yes.
When you're doing things that are like a step one of a 5-step or 20-step plan, then yay. But the 2022 is I just spent money on ads and they worked, yay. But this year it was lower, but there's all these things that we're really excited about, for the future. So, and they're fun.
Awesome.
So,
yeah. I love that. I think like when you don't know what led to a success, you can't duplicate it, but when you do, you can build it over and over again.
Yeah, and if you want to get anxious, get anxious when something worked really well and you have no idea why, and then you're just hoping it'll happen again magically.
Yeah.
That'll make you anxious.
There's a lot of authors who are in that situation. Jeffrey, you've got a question for me.
Sure, Brian. So what's something in your control that you could have done differently in 2023?
Well, what I could have done differently in 2023 is I could have done less. I think that one of the things that you and I share in common is we have a lot of ideas. But what I've learned, and Becca, who was here a few weeks ago, reminded me of this. Sometimes no can be not yet or not right now. And I think in 2023, I coulda, shoulda, woulda done some things that I could have put off another year or two. And I'm glad that going into 2024, I've already tried to adopt doing less and making things more streamlined because it's going to make a major difference in my mental health later on.
It's hard because all of our ideas are so great, every single one of them. So they're all great.
And like the Coca-Cola pizza, yeah. No,
they're all great ideas.
They're all such great ideas. Yeah. We're going into the lightning round, Jeffrey, which means we need another lightning sound out of you.
Okay.
So get ready. Let's do it.
Let's try again.
Okay. Ooh, I liked it. Was like the 2 taps and then the big explosion. That was good. That was
California.
Really
we don't get much lightning, so it's.
Oh, you had to do the best you could.
Thank you.
The best you could. Yeah, I
thought like everything.
Yeah, it sounded like lightning.
Yeah.
So, according to KM Weiland, there are some seasons of life in which trying to hack your schedule to be more optimized simply won't work. How do you make sure that you schedule downtime even when you feel like there's a lot to do?
Yeah. Well, you have to. I've basically adopted a rule in our house. I at 5:00, my Paula, the amazing Paula, she also works at home, and at 5:00 we just shut it down, and that is the time we do dinner, we watch TV, we talk. I mean, you just have to make it sacred. You have to make it sacred. If making books and selling books and marketing books is sacred, you have to make the other part sacred too. That's kind of the rule. It's a rule. It's a hard, fast rule.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes total sense. That I like that. You gotta put a fence around it.
Yeah.
You gotta put a fence around it. I think you
Yeah.
got a question here for me.
Yeah. Whelan also mentions energetic limitations in her post, making sure that you stop working at point to nurture your creativity. Brian, what do you do to nurture your creativity?
I love this question. So, to nurture my creativity, I need inputs. I need to watch movies. I need to be around people. I need to talk to authors, but also just talk to non authors. I need to not be in a bubble because once you're in a bubble, and this is one of the reasons we kept the Sell More Book Show running for almost 10 years, to stay out of a bubble. Once you're in a bubble, you don't actually connect with humanity, with the things that you put out anymore. It's just an echo of what you used to know humanity was like. And so for me, it means going out in public. It means going to work out at the gym. It means trying to get to a coffee shop. It means traveling. Those are the things that help me nurture my creativity.
Yeah. Love it.
And maybe
Yeah.
playing a few video games. But
Different.
not great. Not great for productivity, but good to focus on something else. So Jeffrey, according to a blog post from Sarah Chauncey on Jane Friedman's blog, but out of chair, the opposite of but in chair time, but out of chair time is great for tapping into your subconscious ideas. Do you have any routine or practice to help yourself tap into your subconscious?
So I have discovered several occasions when I've had those ideas. It's when I was out walking out somewhere, did not have earbuds in my ear, listening to a podcast. It was just, being out and about, unattached to the information world and just experiencing the world. That's when the latest group of books that we're working on, which is, capturing family traditions and recipes. It was kind of a walk on the beach and kind of this thing said, I sure would love not just have my grandmother's recipes, but I would love to know how she learned them, all that stuff. And it was just this, and I love podcasts, but it becomes homework. And
Yes.
If you take all that out of your head, the information, and just experience, there's so many cool things. You see things so interestingly well. So
yeah, no, I love that answer. That's great. You've got a question for me.
Yes. How often do you get away from your desk and chair as part of your writing process?
So I need to get away from my desk and chair. I need to take at least one walk per day. I need to go work out in the morning. That was a new thing for 2022, but it's been so great. I feel more energy. I feel stronger now. And that all connects to my writing process in a very indirect way. But directly, some of the most efficient times I've had and creative times I've had were when I would walk and do dictation. I have not done that in my new location, but I did in Chicago near Lake Michigan. I would walk around and I would definitely get a little bit quieter when I started passing someone so they didn't think that I was funny in the head there. But getting away from my desk has always been a really beneficial part of my creativity, for sure.
Yes.
So, to finish us off, sir, I have often called your books highbrow, low content. What do you think you've learned in the last year about elevating your books and products to a new level?
Well, it goes back to the idea of why people purchase my books. It's typically as gifts, and I've really focused on, if I was buying a gift for my mom, my dad, my loved one, I would want it to be at this quality level. So we've as I mentioned, I graduated to having real editors. I graduated to having real designers. I graduated from using Microsoft Word to design my books. Now I'm in design.
Mm-hmm.
Now this year we're launching an elevated version, leather covers, linen covers, bookmarks, gilded edges, to provide, a truly long-term elegant product to kind of collect and store and preserve those family memories. So it's just constantly trying to, I want to be the best. If someone actually chooses my book, thank you, but I want them to have the best possible thing that I can make, not just something I turned out. So
Love that. Love
yeah,
that. Great answer, Jeffrey. It's been so wonderful getting to hear these answers
yeah,
from you today. Yeah, of course.
yeah.
We need a question of the week. Earlier, we talked about the things that are in your control and out of your control that might have impacted your royalties last year. We've talked about some other things here with energy, creativity. Jeffrey, what do you think we should ask our listeners today?
What are folks doing to set their priorities and then to enforce those priorities in their daily writing, marketing, book selling schedules?
Daily, yearly schedules. All right. I love this. What are you doing to set your priorities? What are you doing to enforce your priorities in your daily, weekly, and yearly writing and marketing schedules? Love the question. Great one. You can
Yeah.
answer the question of the week over at the sellmorebookshow.com website or in the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group. Jeffrey, it's been great having you here for these
So
2
much fun.
weeks.
Yes.
Same here. I've loved it. Do you have any words of wisdom, last parting words you want to leave our wonderful listeners with as they hear your great story?
Just, keep, uh, like we said, in this year with all the conversations about what the machines are doing, what do you do as an individual human being, author, book creator? What do you do best that a machine can never do? And really double down on that. That's connection with your readers, connecting with the reasons why they're buying and reading and your books, etc. Just really double down on all that human stuff. Make beautiful books, as Joanne Penn would say. So,
Love it.
yeah.
Great answer, sir.
Yeah.
HearYourStorybooks.com.
Thank you.
Go pick up a book for your mom. Go pick up a book for your kid.
Yeah.
I'm loving how much these books have spread across the world, and I'm sure it's going to
Yeah.
grow as time goes on.
It's been an honor, really. So, yeah.
Yay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for being here these last couple weeks. I truly do
No,
appreciate it.
been fun to see the sausage being
Yeah.
made. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know, right in the inside of it. Well, folks, we've got all sorts of stuff coming up. We've got more and more guests coming. I believe Naomi Nakashima is next. Awesome ghostwriter and book editor, and just very, very funny lady. I believe she's up next. So stick around for her coming at you for episode 513. Have a wonderful week of book selling, everybody. And we'll talk to you soon for episode 513. So long.
You guys.